Okay, so I had the psychodynamic approach as well, and that's chapter 13. And the psychodynamic approach focuses on leadership, and it looks at the several different ways that you can look at leadership, but mainly it all like centers around on personality. And of course, personality consists of patterns of ways of thinking, feeling, and acting in regards to the environment and including other people. So there's several different personalities, and some personalities are better suited for leaders, and others others are suited better for followers. The psychodynamic approach basically works. The primary aim of it is to raise the awareness of leaders and followers to their own personality types and the implications of those types on work and relationships. So there was a lot of information in this section, and mainly talking about like the different people who have studied these things and their studies and whatnot. Well, I just said that anyways. But I'll emphasize the importance of leaders becoming aware of their own personality type and the personalities of their followers. So psychological development produces personality types. Responses kind of with personality are kind of predictable to an extent anyway. The psychodynamic approach kind of focuses on the personality of the leader and the followers, which I've basically already said. But the psychodynamic approach ultimately is a way to look at the relationship between the two. There are a couple assumptions about this approach, and one would be the personality characteristics are very difficult to change in any significant way. So basically, you can't change your personality type because it's pretty hard. A second assumption is that people have motives and feelings that are beneath immediate awareness, kind of like emotions and kind of their backgrounds. The emergence of the psychodynamic approach to leadership has its roots in the works of the Simon Freud, I guess that's how you say it, in the development of his psychoanalysis, which again, this is a lot of information. I'm going to skip over a lot. And there's also another guy, Eric Berne, and the transactional analysis, and that basically kind of centered on ego state and personality. Blah, blah, blah. But to Freud, personality was a typical or regular way in which human beings relate to the world. There's a core personality, inborn and instinctual, but values, attitudes, and beliefs are overlaid on that core personality. Freud offered that there were erotic, obsessive, and narcissistic personality types. So those were these three personality types. And then some other guy, Erich Fromm, subsequently added the fourth, marketing. Basically, erotic personality, they're quite dependent and needy. Obsessive personality can be very aggressive, and they believe that they are right and they don't want to be questioned. Marketing personality, they're highly adaptable. They're good at facilitating and networking and at using and enjoying the process of collaboration in order to achieve things. And then narcissistic personality, they really don't want any guidance. And they have a clear vision of what to do and does not take into account what other people say or do in the pursuit of that vision. So they just really don't care. Blah, 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 lots of more information. But Carl Jung did a lot of study on personality types, and human behaviors are predictable and understandable, and that's kind of his groundwork of everything. And he believed there are 4 dimensions important in assessing personality, and those classification types are extroversion versus introversion, sensing versus intuition, I don't know, thinking versus feeling, and judging versus perceiving. And through all those 4, there are 16 different possible combinations of personality types. Types and leadership. So basically, kind of what I said earlier is that basically leadership is intentional. It entails a vision or an aim, and that people other than the leader must be motivated to move toward a goal or the final outcome. You know, like more personalities are more acceptable. Oh, I'm messing up. More people. There's certain personalities that are better at being a leader and more followers. But Kroger and Thusen related that there were 8 functions to leadership, and is basically thinker, feeler, extrovert, introverts, intuitor, sensor, judger, perceiver, and there's a bunch of more information about them, but each type has its pluses and minuses. But basically, a vision cannot be rushed was a good point, and I'm going over time. The psychodynamic approach usually involves the participation of subordinates as well as the leader. It is important to be aware of and understand the differences between various people who must work together. The strengths of it is that it results in an analysis of the relationship between the leader and the follower. A second strength is that the presumed universality of the psychodynamic approach is basically a search for a universal truth in human existence. Another strength is that it emphasizes the need for awareness on the part of the leader, and that goes along with dealing with ego state and the psychological types. The leader comes to understand his or her reactions to subordinates' actions and see why followers react as they do in certain actions. Criticisms, of course, is that much of the early work that was based on clinical observations and treatment of people with serious mental difficulties. So, like, it kind of makes their work faulty because they weren't, like, professionals or anything like that, but rather people who were just mentally not well. And it put limitations on the different studies and stuff. The psychodynamic approach is also limited because it focuses primarily on the personalities of the leader and followers that dictate the nature of the relationship between them. So it does not take into account organizational factor, and it also limits its use in practice, and emotional responses are ignored or rejected. The final limitation is it does not lend itself to training in a conventional sense. There's no clear prescriptions for how an individual can change his or her personality style. Only ways of acting to accept those and tolerate. So basically, you can't change your personality. There's no way to help you change it, but basically you are how you are, and just learn the different types of personalities and try to work along better with each other. Oh, sorry, I went too long.